I'm on the second floor of Salon 94th's historic mansion space on East 89th Street, right across the street from the Guggenheim Museum. And it's a historic mansion, as we can see, with incredible walls and architecture. And currently the gallery has 3 different exhibitions on view. This is one of them, and it's the artist Justine Koons, whose first solo exhibition this is with the gallery. You know, it doesn't really happen that often that you have a seasoned artist who's actually also an emerging artist of sorts, because this is her first exhibition. She's been working her entire life, and yet we don't know her work. This is a revelation. This is really an introduction, an inaugural exhibition for her. She comes from South Africa, and she moved to New York in 1995 after attending art school, after becoming an artist and a curator, and she came to New York to curate and to work with some artists, and then stayed. And in fact, she married Jeff Koons and had 6 children with him. And so motherhood and married life took over, clearly, for an artist who has also 6 children to take care of. But all the while, she has been working. And all the while, she has been thinking about work, producing work. It just hasn't been revealed. We haven't seen it at all. And so here's this new exhibition, and it's about both, of course, the art history, mythology, her own history that she's mining, and her own process. These are all ceramic sculptures. They're made from stoneware. She creates them all by hand. They're carefully sculpted, as one can see. And they're mining art history. They're mining mythology. You have the figure of Venus, or truncated forms of male torsos that inevitably remind us of ancient Greek and Roman sculptures found as artifacts on ancient sites. And at the same time, though, she sort of is also nodding to her own history, to her own very quotidian existence as a wife and a mother. So you have these very clever sculpted moments, such as pacifiers or little sort of cookie or cake shapes, lollipops. The more you look, the more you'll see. So there's humor indelibly bound and interwoven here. She paints them, she sculpts them. There are these very deep, bold, bright blues that remind us of course, Yves Klein blue. But there are also moments that invoke her own history as a jewelry designer, as a sculptor, as somebody who kind of has always had this history of making birthday cakes for her family that were specific to the individual having the celebration. So she also nods to that, and just her role as a muse to a very iconic 20th century artist, Jeff Koons. And so there are some humorous moments that we see in these sculptures, such as reference to Alida and the Swan, and her own body, constantly changing as a mother, and other objects, like there is a torso seemingly of Venus with what at first glance reminds us of a snake wounding its way around the body, but in fact it's probably a hose for a vacuum cleaner. Again, another kind of tongue-in-cheek, humorous nod to Jeff Koons's vacuum cleaner sculptures. So she's not, she's not somebody who's just at the beginning of her career, but at the same time we're being introduced to her work now, at this stage of her life when she's ready to be seen in public. And it's really, I think, a very exciting moment. I was incredibly impressed by the sculptures, by the surfaces that are painted. And to me, they reminded me also of Greek pottery, the figures that you find on Greek vase paintings. And then again, these truncated bodies, the artifacts that one finds in excavations. They're sensual, there's sort of some sexual innuendos here, there's humor, and then there's very much a self-referential moments, ideas, elements in all of these works. And some of them, you can see, are useful or functional objects, like vases with this sort of a minotaur sculpture with pink overtones, of course, there, making it much more feminine than masculine as kind of this cow-like minotaur sculpture, where you have a very humorous take on the dog, which has always been identified also with her husband's sculptures, and here she's sort of toying with these notions. So the combination of serious sculpture and serious sculpting techniques with the humor and with the very daily, insignificant kind of ordinary object merged together in these sculptures produce a very beautifully powerful effect, that in fact is individual. She has made her statement. She has made herself known to us at this point. And of course, the cakes and the kind of these headdresses that are cakes remind us of both ancient sculptures of Greek and Roman beauties, the court women of Roman times, and then these very elaborate headdresses that she decorates, sculpt as cakes. Again, self-referential, and at the same time referencing art history, mythology, and precedents.